Peace, family. We're going to get a quick class with the Grandmaster Teacher Hakeem Bey. And I'm not going to even say much. I'm going to let him describe what I'm going to probably
You put yourself in that category, you had no rights that anyone was bound to respect. And see, this whole game that was played with the handful that was brought here from West Africa was designed to enslave us, because they used the handful that they brought relatively late in West Africa to justify their fugitive slave law act. Which what they were doing was snatching up free brothers and sisters over here and say, you escaped slave that we brought over in West Africa. This was the game that was played. And you will even see petitions that were circulated by brothers and sisters back then saying, we against these fugitive slave law acts because you just snatched up free brothers and sisters. Brothers might be rolling down the Mississippi in a canoe or whatever, and you snatch them up saying he's an escaped slave that y'all brought slave markets over in Africa. This was a game that was played. Why? Because they had to get you out from your rightful name as Moors. Moors.
Know thyself.
Why? Because there were treaties involved. There were international treaties that stated that they could not enslave you if you was a Moor. That's why when you look in the Black Coast of Virginia, it said all these shall be considered slaves except for Moors and Turks and amity. And amity meaning that you have an outstanding treaty of peace and friendship. So they couldn't slave you as Moors. So they had to snatch up your children at birth, switch them up to some other place, and raise them up, tell them, oh, you descendants of some Africans that we brought in West Africa. You see what I'm saying? And that did two things. That denied them of their aboriginal rights of being here before Columbus in this hemisphere. And at the same time, it put them in the category of chattel property. All right? So whenever we call ourselves by those names, we put ourselves in that same category. See, the Moors, you know, we deal with science, Moor science, you know. So if I was to ask you, how do you identify yourself? And if you was to tell me, black, I would say, no, that's not an identification of yourself. That's black is the adjective. An adjective describes a thing, but it does not identify a thing. And if you say you were black, I would say that was an unscientific or inaccurate description I got, because you're not really black. You various shades of brown. So not only is that description does not identify you, but it's an inaccurate description of you at that. If you tell me you African American, well, Africa is a continent.
Two places.
Made up of many nations.
And
so when you say African, you're not identifying yourself, you're not connecting yourself to any nation, to any continuity of laws, treaties, and so on and so forth.
An adjective.
So when you say African American, that's like, well, you have no established rights in the history of law that we could go by.
Damn.
You see what I'm saying? This is why the prophet squarely said Moorish American. That tied us into the illustrious past of our ancestors, as well as all the international treaties that was involved.
Now I get
and this was a nation, an empire that was recognized the world over. So now you tie yourself to something that's tangible, with a flag, with a historical context, with landmass.
And they got to respect that.
Treaties, so on and so forth.
You know yourself.
All right? He says, and I'm just going to take a seat right now while I'm doing this. I fasted today, so I'm a little, you know how you get when you fast, you know. It says, I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive the divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings.
That's right.
And let me stop right there, that they will be law abiders. You know, that's something that our people are not. You know,
as a matter of fact,
TV, but we go out of our way to not be law abiders. But there's a reason for that. You know, with us, you know, if you break the law, you get over the law. That's like us. That's something worthy of praise with us. Why? Because we on the outside looking in. That's why the prophet said to return us back into constitutional fold, because just like cells of the body, if you have your body's made up of many different cells. Let's say you're laid. So let's say you laid up in the bed in the hospital, for whatever reason, and you don't use your legs. The muscle cells in your legs begin to die. They begin to atrophy. Why? because there's a self-destruct mechanism in those cells that tells that cell that if I'm not being utilized, I'm going to commit suicide, because at that point, I'm just being an extra burden for the body. So every cell in the body has a self-destruct or a suicide mode that kicks in when it feels it's not being utilized or used by the body. It's not an active participant within the body. Well, that's the same thing with us, with regards to the United States of America.
Yeah.
For so long, we believed or we thought we were something that wasn't used by it, that we wasn't part of it.
And we are everything.
And so within us, a self-destruct mode kicked in,
72
where we were
Congress
desirous to do all kinds of things that was destructive to ourselves as well as to the nation. Not realizing that our forefathers played a key role in the formation of this nation.
I didn't even like
but
using
not knowing that
we're Moors.
we antagonistic to it. We see ourselves on the outside of it, and because of that, that self-destruct mechanism has kicked in within us.
Because it's a general descriptive
in any human being. That's why when you're a part of a society, one of the worst things, one of the worst punishments or penalties is exile. Because once you exile, that self-destruct mechanism kicks in. That's what happened with Malcolm X. It's no coincidence that shortly after he was exiled from the nation, he passed on shortly afterwards. Because that self-destruct mechanism kicked in. He started getting paranoid. You know, you remember the picture where you see him by the window with the rifle? All these things start to kick in. And he started feeling as if he was going to die any minute now. And it became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence that shortly after Mr. Collins was exiled from the nation, that he passed on. This is a very powerful thing that operates within the human being on a subconscious level. And so whenever you're part of any society and you're thrown out, you start having suicidal thoughts, you start getting paranoid, you start having all kinds of things because now you're outside of the body.
Because we've been outside this fucking system.
Any nation is just like a corporation. And a corporation comes from the word corpus or body. That's why I refer to it as a body politic.
Yeah, body.
Each one of us function as cells within that body. So if you see yourself as outside of it, then you're going to do all things destructive to yourself and to that same body that you don't see yourself a part of.
He killed it right there, man. Shay Namaste Islam to the bro.
He says, they are to, talking about us, they are to claim their own free national name and religion. Free national name and religion. That identifies you with a landmass, with a nation, and your religion gives you self-determination, the right to live according to your own principles.
Thank you.
See, the Prophet also understood the fact that within religious, as a result of the doctrine of religious freedom, if you proclaim your religion, then within that, you have self-determination.
There you go.
You could do any act or forbear to do any act for conscience sake as long as it's in tune with your religion and not harmful to society as a whole.
Wow. So that's I'm gonna end it right there because I'm already almost at that long fucking 9-minute thing. You know, completion. Let me say that. So one time for the one time. I hope y'all got some of that. Peace to the brother Hakeem Bey, man. Islam, man. From the heart, man. Wow. One time for the one time.